Hi everybody, I'd like to welcome you to UCOR's support of CPWR's National Stand Down to Prevent Falls in Construction. Here in a moment we're going to have several UCOR employees give testimonials to fall events they've had while working off ladders. So I hope everybody can learn from these events and share them so we don't have the same thing happen to someone else. Thanks again.
About 8 months ago, it was in September of 2016, I was trimming 2 trees at my house, and I trimmed these trees many times before. When I first bought the house, I tried trimming these trees with a conventional hedge trimmer and about an 8 or a 10-foot step ladder, and I realized that was not safe. So I did some research and I found a different step ladder. A much larger ladder is about 13 feet tall, and it had about a 4-foot wide base, and it was made for this purpose. It was ANSI rated for 300 pounds and was definitely the right type of ladder, or so I thought. And I also bought an extended reach hedge trimmer so I would not have to be leaning out. And knowing that this was this particular job would take quite some time, I planned it for the first thing in the morning, and I got up and I set my tools up, removed anything in the area that could hurt me should I fall. And I always do this particular job when my wife is home in the unlikely event that I did fall. So I was prepared. I started the job and I took a couple of breaks, and then I finished and I went in to eat lunch. When I came out to pick up my tools, I noticed one area that I wanted to do a little bit more work on, but by this time my wife had gone shopping. But I went ahead and went up on the ladder and to finish that one area. I don't know what happened, but I fell. The ladder did not turn over. The ladder was set up in a stable configuration. But I remember falling through the air. I remember flailing as I fell. And I remember the very sickening feeling and sound of the crunch when I hit the ground. I broke six ribs, displaced 4 ribs, punctured both lungs, and had some abrasions, contusions, bruising. But as I was laying there on the ground, I couldn't move. I landed on my left shoulder, but I wound up at some point on my right side. My cell phone, which had been in my left pocket, was laying near my head, but my arms would not work. I tried to get it, but I couldn't move. And I got really scared. I remembered a friend of mine who was killed in a car wreck did not seem to be hurt, but just the jolting of the car wreck damaged her internal organs and she died. So I was really scared. I started to pray, and I think I probably went in and out of consciousness a couple of times. And I live in a very quiet area, no traffic. But a painter, was in the area looking at a job, and he thought he saw somebody laying on the ground. So he parked his car and he came up to my house and he found me. And that really helped. He was very supportive, and he tried to keep me awake, and I managed to give him my wife's name and phone number, and he called her. And anyway, that was very good having that kind of support. I spent a week in the hospital and then an additional 3 weeks at home, and then a few months of recovery. I was out of work for 4 weeks. As far as what could I have done differently, I really don't know. I had a right ladder and the right tools, but looking at some of these ladders, one such as this one with the safety cage, that would have been a big help and certainly would have kept me from falling. That would have had to been a much taller ladder for me to use to do this job. But I'm a very safety conscious individual, but something I did something wrong. I don't know if I tripped over an extension cord or what, but it was one of the worst days of my life. It was the worst pain I've ever had in my life. And I had a ruptured appendix for over 3 weeks, and it paled in comparison to what this felt like. When you break ribs, you can't move your little finger without it hurting. The pain that I had The biggest problem was there were 4 ribs that had been displaced quite a bit, and that's where I got so much of the pain. But as a result of this, my brother, he's building a place up in Oklahoma, and he was going to do the roofing, and he stopped his plans and allowed someone else to do that roofing. And I've had several people tell me stories that they decided to hire somebody to do something, or they changed their plans as a result of this.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
And old bones don't heal like they used to.
Yeah, about 3 years ago now, I had an accident where I didn't really fall off the ladder. The ladder slid down the house while I stayed on it. But pretty much I was over painting a rental house, and I did the pre-work the day before, and I had already realized I needed a new ladder to adjust for the height to drop below a window. So I have a 28-foot extension ladder, and I couldn't put it above the window because there wasn't enough room to get to the eave, and putting it below the window made the angle not a 4-to-1 angle. It actually made the angle really bad. And so when I realized I needed a new ladder, and as I was heading over to the house, it wasn't on my list of things to pick up for whatever reason. I had forgotten. By the time I got to the house, I realized I needed that new ladder, and I decided it would be quicker if I just manipulated the ladder I had instead of running back and going to get the proper tool for the job. So I went ahead and I used a 28-foot extension ladder and had to drop it below a window, so my angle was real bad. And then when I climbed up there, the ladder did what it would do when you don't have the proper angle. It slid down the wall, and the garage doors open, and I fell into the garage, and I ended up breaking my wrist and had surgery on my wrist, and I've got a pin in my wrist for that, and I actually broke my left foot. And so thinking that I was going to be hurrying through this process of working on this house and getting done quickly, it actually extended the work by quite a bit. I had to wait to recover and actually get somebody to help me paint the house. I was out of work for at least a week, and it took me, well, when I thought I was going to be done that afternoon, it actually took me like about 2 weeks longer to get the house done that I wanted to get done. So yeah, it had impact.
All right, so my story starts, I was working on my house. I had done about 15 window replacements on my house as I was redoing all the siding, and I'd set this ladder up 100 times at this point. I had it up over my garage where I could block it off with a car and keep it from sliding back as I was getting up and down from the roof. I was on the back side of the roof, and it had started to rain, so I was ready to come down. And as I go to get off the roof, I noticed that the car that I'd parked there, somebody helped me move it. So I didn't have a car there anymore to help keep the ladder in place. So it's raining, and I'm ready to get off the roof. I got to get off. I decide I'm going to go ahead and get down. I know that the concrete's slick. It had the tar painted on it, and when it gets wet, it's like ice. But I've had to get off the roof, and nobody to call, no cell phone, no way to yell at anybody. Nobody was home, just me. And as I get off the roof onto the ladder, I noticed it was a little wobbly, so I'm trying to get down as quick as possible, but I noticed I left my level all the way to where I couldn't just get back off the ladder and get it. I had to reach for it. So as I reach for it, I'm off center, and the ladder slides out from under me. My feet go into the ladder rungs, and I fall backwards onto the ladder on my back, about 8 foot, and I broke the ladder. Luckily, I didn't break anything else. I was out of breath. I thought I'd broke something, but ultimately, don't ever work off a ladder by yourself, or chalk a ladder or tie it off in a way that can be removed easily. At the very least, I should have told one person that I was working off this ladder and let them know that they needed to watch out for me, or wait for a phone call from me that I'm all right. Because if I had fallen and actually hurt myself seriously, I could have laid there for hours without anybody knowing that I was seriously injured. I'm lucky I didn't get hurt worse.